We need to have a conversation about Canada's public safety minister, Gary Anandasangaree. He was appointed to cabinet when Carney became prime minister, but under a cloud of problems, shall we say. And most recently, this public safety minister was caught on a hot mic talking about the gun grab the Liberals want to do, but only doing it because of Quebec. What's going on here? Well, let's ask Brian Lilley and Lorrie Goldstein. Okay, Brian.
Yeah.
Gary Anandasangaree he came into cabinet under a cloud of problems in the first place. Let's revisit that. He had to recuse himself right out of the gate from issues in and around Canada's public safety.
Yeah. So as Minister of Public Safety, he's in charge of the terror watch list. This is the list that we say, okay, this is a banned terror group. You're in charge of that list. Who's on it? Who's not? He had to recuse himself from anything to do with the Tamil Tigers, a banned terror group in Canada for more than 20 years. Why? Associations. In fact, we found out later through reporting by Global that Anandasangaree's number, his phone number, had been found on a document during an RCMP raid related to the Tamil Tigers years ago. So, you've got that at the start, but then you've got this leaked recording from this past Sunday. Anandasangaree owns a bunch of rental properties in and around Toronto. He goes and visits one of them. He's doing some kind of home inspection. For reasons that I don't know, the tenant, who I only know his name is Sean, because you hear it in the recording, Anandasangaree is inspecting the home for something. About 10-15 minutes into the recording, he starts telling his tenant, he's like, oh, by the way, the gun buyback program is going to launch on Tuesday. It's going to launch in Cape Breton. And he starts telling him all of this. Then they have a 20-minute conversation further about this with his longtime tenant, who is a gun owner. And Anandasangaree is saying things like, don't ask me to explain the logic of this, okay? About the gun confiscation program. He says that he doesn't really support it. He says they're only doing it because of Quebec, and that if they had to start over again, he wouldn't do it this way. He later, when questioned about this, said, oh, well, no, I do support the program, and I just meant that I would have done it faster. And, it is a bit of a joke. I can't see how he stays in his position, but Mark Carney says he has faith in him.
Well, let's have a listen to some of that audio.
If you don't mind me asking. I know a lot more. I'm not an expert on this, right? I'm not an expert. Quebec, for example, is in a very different place in Ontario. I get it. Quebec is in a different place than other parts of Canada.
So, Lorrie, look, aside from the fact that it's odd that he's doing this house inspection, I'm going to put that aside for a moment. This is a public safety minister that stands up in the House and, quite frankly, is incapable, like many of the cabinet ministers, quite frankly, incapable of answering the questions. I mean, I guess it's called question period for a reason. It's not called answer period. But regardless of that, it doesn't appear that he even understands his file, like his charge of public safety.
Yeah, the thing that most concerns me is what Brian raised. Okay, there's been these previous problems, security-related issues. Now there's this issue about him being caught on tape saying that basically the government's buyback program, which is going to cost us $742 million a year, isn't going to work. And most significantly, saying that police aren't going to enforce it. They really, can't. And then he says in the sort of briefing after all this came out during question period that, well, I was just kidding. It was bad humor. I was going along. And then Carney says he has faith in the minister. So what we've learned from the Trudeau era is that the standards of conduct of cabinet ministers are not set by the ethics commissioner. They're not set by the conflict of interest law. The penalties are absurdly light. The standards are set by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of Canada has now said he has confidence in one of his cabinet ministers who said different things about a government program that he's supposed to implement in public than he did when he thought it was private. In public, it's going to work. It's great. We need to do this. We need to get these 2,500 assault. Oh, he also said, by the way, that there isn't enough money to compensate the 180,000 gun owners in Canada who have these weapons, which is why he said to Sean, hard to believe, well, if you don't get as much money, I'll cover the difference for you. And if you go to jail, I'll bail you out. Now, obviously, you know,
Oh my
okay.
God.
But my concern is we now know that according to the Prime Minister of Canada, his ministers can say one thing publicly and an entirely different thing when they think it's private about programs that they're responsible for administering. They can say they're bad in private, but good in public, and they stay in cabinet. What kind of standard, moral or otherwise, is Carney setting for his ministers? And this would be for any minister. I don't care who they are. Any minister who did this should have been out of cabinet within 24 hours. It's non-debatable. If you see the media reaction, now it's become, oh, well, at the first chance he's going to get rid of it. No, not good enough. Mm-hmm. He should have got rid of him this week. This is unforgivable to anyone who believes
Lorrie.
Politicians.
He's too busy in New York, being patted on the back for recognizing a Palestinian state with no borders, no capital, and no government.
Yeah.
And off to the UK next. It's not like he's spending a lot of time in Canada to actually deal with these things. Last word to you on this, Brian. I know that, based on what Lorrie is saying, there is that a very, very low bar for Liberal cabinet ministers. They can really cock up, and then with little to no consequence. I'm wondering though, is this going to be a different situation with Anandasangaree? As Lorrie says, Carney will potentially shuffle him out at the first opportunity that he gets. What do you see happening there?
Well, we've been told that Carney is a guy who doesn't suffer fools gladly, so I would expect him to be gone. The fact that he's not is worrisome, although look around the Liberal caucus, who are you going to replace him with?
Right.
Who is competent enough to be put in there? The bench strength is not what it used to be. So there's that problem. We've talked about this before, about how low Justin Trudeau put the bar, that, I think it was last week we were discussing the First Minister's meetings, that he would show up late, lecture them for 20 minutes, not pay attention when they were talking, not take notes, and then leave early. And the reason the premiers are happy with Mark Carney is he acts like a normal person. He shows up on time, he listens, he takes notes, all of that. That's how low we've lowered the bar. And we've lowered it for cabinet ministers as well. So we may want Mark Carney to act and get rid of Anandasangaree, but he doesn't have to, and the public will still reward him. A quick couple of comments on the actual program that they're implementing. It's an utter disaster. Everyone who is a licensed gun owner will get a letter from the government asking them to fill out a form, either online or in paper, and mail it in, that tells them, oh yeah, I have guns, here's what they are. And then you send that in. You may or may not get compensation for having those, but the reason they have to ask you is they banned a bunch of guns that were never even restricted, so they don't have a clue who has them. Then you're supposed to take it to your local police of jurisdiction to turn them in, but there's a whole pile of police services that aren't doing this, so the government is having to spend money to pay local or provincial or RCMP forces to go in and implement it, to hire off-duty officers or retired officers or civilians. This is an utter disaster waiting to happen, but they're going to be able to say, oh, look, we took guns off the streets. No, they're not on the streets. They're in your gun safe, in your basement. These are not the guns we need to be worrying about, but they're the easier ones to find compared to the crime guns.
Well, based on all of that, do you have confidence in Canada's public safety minister? I would say not. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and go to the TorontoSun.com. You'll find commentary and coverage there you will not find anywhere else.